It is 5:30 and I'm calling this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Beltran.
Present.
Councilmember Meister. Present. Councilmember Wyrock. Present. Vice Mayor Carrillo. Present. Mayor Flores.
Present. We'll now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the City Council on any matter scheduled for closed session. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to come forward right now for oral communications in closed session? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll now move on to City Council closed session items.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have 4 items before the City Council this evening. The first is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, claimant Aiva Lizeth Torres Jimenez, agency claimed against City of Porterville. Number 2 is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, claimant Melanie Rodriguez, agency claimed against City of Porterville. Number 3, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation for cases in which facts are not yet known to potential plaintiffs. And number 4 is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 2 cases.
Thank you. It is 5:31. We will now go into closed session.
We're good to go.
It is 6:30. We will reconvene open session and report on reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. On item 2, claim of Melanie Rodriguez on a motion by Councilmember Wyrock, seconded by Councilmember Beltran, and a 5-0 vote. That claim was denied. Thank you.
Thank you. I invite everyone to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Beltran, and remain standing for an invocation or a moment of silence.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone that would like to come forward and do the invocation? If not, please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. We will now go into the presentation for the Employee of the Month. Is Tori Berry in the audience? Please come forward. Councilmember Beltran.
It's my pleasure to present this to you, Tori. Employee of the Month for September 2024, Tori Berry. Tori Berry was employed by the City of Porterville Parks and Leisure Service Department in April of 2023 as a leisure services coordinator. Tori grew up in Porterville. After graduating from Menachie High School, Tori attended Azusa Pacific University and obtained a master's degree in sports management. Tori's duties included coordinating youth volleyball, fall soccer, and arena soccer leagues, as well as assisting with many special events throughout the year and daily operations of the Parks and Leisure's office. Her tremendous work ethic and professionalism deems her more than worthy of this award. She is a real go-getter who is organized, focused, and very thorough. She has a great attitude and has brought a lot of positive change and positivity to the department. Tori has been a real asset to the Parks and Leisure's team. Tori's hobbies include playing board games, taking road trips, hanging out with her family, and listening to podcasts. Tori has been married to Aaron for 3 years, and they have a 2-year-old son, Tyler, and one more on the way. Join us in congratulating the City of Porterville's Employee of the Month for September 2024, Tori Berry.
Just thank you. Thank you to the department. Amy, Donnie, you guys are great to work for. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. I'm super thankful for this. So just thank you.
It is always an honor to recognize employees and any staff person for their work and their diligence. We will now move on to the Outstanding Business Honoree.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are recognizing Imagine Arts Center as the 2024 Outstanding Business Honoree. Since its inception in 2010, Imagine Arts Center has become a cornerstone of Porterville's cultural and economic development. Founded by Rebecca Ibarra, the center has established with a vision of inclusivity, fostering a space where people from all walks of life can come together to share ideas, nurture creativity, and be inspired. So over the years, the center's growth has propelled the revitalization of downtown Porterville, particularly with its recent expansion into a 6,000 square foot studio space on South Main Street. This expansion has rejuvenated the southern downtown district, increasing foot traffic and enhancing the center's ability to offer a diverse range of creative programs. So Imagine Arts Center exemplifies how cultural initiatives can drive local prosperity. It creates employment opportunities with 12 full-time staff and up to 35 part-time employees working in its art enrichment program. These jobs not only contribute to the local economy, but also provide meaningful employment in the arts sector. Additionally, the center's collaboration with local businesses such as Stafford's Chocolates and the American Legion Auxiliary have further strengthened the community's economic and social bonds. The impact of Imagine Arts Center extends beyond its physical location. Its arts enrichment program reached over 100,000 students during the 2023-2024 school year, bringing art education to classrooms throughout the Central Valley and supporting homeschool groups. This outreach plays a critical role in fostering creativity among young people, nurturing future generations of artists, and enriching the broader cultural landscape. Imagine Arts Center attracts both local and visiting artists through unique offerings like its pottery program, which is a rare in the Central Valley. These programs not only boost tourism, but also contribute to the city's economic vitality. The center's gift shop further supports the local creative economy by providing a platform for artists to showcase and sell their work. Visitors can purchase a variety of locally crafted items, from jewelry and clothing to candles and pottery, and even participate in a plant cutting exchange, adding another layer of community engagement. Community involvement is central to Imagine Arts Center's mission. Through events such as paint nights, family art game nights, and piano lessons, the center offers numerous opportunities for residents to connect with each other and engage with the arts. These activities not only enhance the social fabric of Porterville, but also create a welcoming environment where everyone can feel a sense of belonging. As Imagine Arts Center continues to expand its offerings and deepen its ties within the community, it remains a vital part of Porterville's culture and economic landscape. The center's ongoing commitment to providing accessible art education and fostering collaboration with local businesses ensures that it will remain a vibrant and inspiring hub for creativity and economic engagement. Please join us in recognizing Imagine Arts Center as a 2024 Outstanding Business Honoree, celebrating its significant contributions to the community's quality of life and economic growth.
Words. Yeah, I've been plugging away at this for a long time. I've got my back to I have to do circles. I'm honored. Thanks. It's a lot of work when you have a vision and you just got to put one foot in front of the other every day, and the ups and downs of it. And so it's just amazing to be recognized, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the city better. That's our mission, to enrich the lives of the community through art. So even if you don't do art, we just make a safe space to be. If you haven't been there, check it out. It's really cool. Thanks again. I didn't want, it's mine.
When we went to make the announcement, we got a tour, and we let her give us the tour. And then I said, "Do you know why we're here?" "No." And it was to let her know that she had been recognized, that Imagine Arts and all the staff had been
I was
recognized.
so excited to tell you all about it.
And she said, "I didn't know about it." Well, no, it was a surprise.
If you come over, I'll give you a tour.
Congratulations and thank you. We are now going to move into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the council on any matter of interest, whether on the agenda or not. Please address all items not scheduled for public hearing at this time. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. If you are here for the public hearings numbers 18 and 19, Please hold your comments when those items come up on the agenda. You will be given the opportunity to speak at that time. You will be asked to state your name and city of residence for the record for oral communications and public hearings, and we will continue to adhere to the 3-minute per person speak the time period so that we can, in an orderly fashion, proceed with the decision-making this evening.
Edith Levon, address on record. I have been a Library and Literacy Commission, I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th term, so it's a day or two. I feel betrayed. And the reason I feel betrayed is because when these things were first proposed, it was proposed as 40,000 square feet. Now we understand it's been cut to 24.6. In the presentation that was made to the committee, a lot of things came out. There were 7 presentations, which I actually photocopied out of your agenda packets. I know how to read them. And I want to say, the first one was the 40,000 square feet. Number 2 was 24.6. 3 through 7 were shells that included partial occupation of approximately 16,000 square feet. The library that burned, that was overpacked, looked like a hoarder's house if you got to go to the right corners, was over 18. So am I happy with the idea of 24.6? It was also, the project manager brought up, was asked questions, and she said that in other areas, 24.6 is doing fine. One of the committee asked her, what was the population of the areas? And it was 30 to 40,000 people. Well, 24.6 may be good for that population, but isn't Porterville 66 or damn close? You're talking about really destroying what we have in this system. We need literacy. We need people to be able to read. They need to be able to do research. Where do they do this? At a library. A smaller library is smaller staff. Smaller staff means smaller supplies. Smaller room means less availability to provide the services that the community wants. When businesses are coming to the town, one of the things they look at is the library. Now, the last library was really in bad shape. There was a wall that was right over here that was used for the kids, and I could stick my hand in up to my thumb. The crack was so big, but the city hadn't bothered to fix it. And this library that burned had been there for between 45 and 50 years, and the only real thing that had been done was they added a top. We need something that fits the size of Porterville and its needs. And I will say one last thing. I feel like Charlie Brown. Lucy holding the football, promising not to screw him over again.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Hi, guys. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and City staff. The last time the future library design was on the agenda, I stood before you a crying mess because the library's importance to this community cannot be stressed enough.
Excuse me, please state your name for the record and your city of residence.
I'm Alexis, and I live in Porterville. Sorry, I should know that. However, while I am still extremely passionate about the library, today I'm more educated about the issue. On August 15th, I sat here and watched a group of selfless people make a grueling decision in having to rank 7 designs for our future library. I did not envy them then, and tonight I don't envy you, as you 5 also have to embark on a similar mission in deciding what will work best for this community in all aspects, as we try to metamorphose a tragedy into something beautiful. A library is a city landmark. It's a safe space for teens to gather, a resource for those who have very little, a child's first field trip, a place where future leaders are studying for their degrees, where people learn to read, write, and speak. That alone is a lot to fit into one building. But let's not forget space needed for staff offices, book intake and checkout, restrooms, meeting and study areas, open space for children, maker spaces. Do I sound like Charlie Brown's teacher yet? My point is, this is a huge decision. This is how we move forward. My son Santana is 2, and he is growing. He needs a library that will encourage his growth, that will envelop him and nourish his mind. This city needs a library that will set children up for greatness. I am Alexis. I am 31, but I am also the future. I need a library to grow old in, a place to teach me about the ever-changing world around me. But what does that look like? What does that entail? Most importantly, I suppose, is what does that cost? When you throw money into the picture, it becomes even more complex. The city doesn't have enough money to build the library the community desires, and that's clear. So how do we get the funds we need for everything that the public wants? Do we go for less when it is suggested that we need more, or would that be detrimental to our future? Luckily for us, that's what you're here for, to make those tough decisions, to ask the hard questions, and to set us a solid foundation. What lies ahead tonight could feel daunting, and quite frankly, any decision made here will fail to make the entire community satisfied. Tonight, I encourage you to remember that we are growing, not just in population, but as a society. We need space to foster that growth, a space that grows and morphs with us, that entertains and educates. We need a place people will be proud of, a library that rises from the ashes of sorrow and heals little pieces within us. We need a library that screams, "We did it."
30 seconds to summarize.
Perfect. We were struck with tragedy and we moved forward. Once again, I thank you all for your time and best of luck tonight.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Please do so.
Hello. Renee Kirtley, address on record. This is a quiz for you guys. How many little libraries are there around town? Over 40. Does that tell you anything? That maybe people want to visit a library? And now you've commissioned us off to go to little itty-bitty libraries in somebody's front yard or over at Orange Works? Get with the program.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward? Please do so. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Gwynn. I'm a resident of Porterville, and I believe my address is on file. I'm here because I just wanted to bring up the whole naming the shelter after Augie Gonzalez. I was unfortunately not able to attend the opening. I was in Ireland, and I know, so sorry. And it was sad for me because I'm like, wow, I really would have loved to have gone because we worked so hard and volunteered with Augie side by side in a lot of events and everything else. And I came home and I saw this paper, and next to it, we talked about Gonzalez to be recognized. That was wonderful. But what was dismaying to me was that even during the opening, the ribbon cutting, there was nothing there really with him on it. My name's on the wall because of all the stuff that I've done for the community. I would gladly tear my name off the wall if his was there instead. He's the shelter manager. He's done it for years. He's done so much. He was Santa Claus in the park. He did a lot for the community. He took food to people. He helped him. He put bicycles together. He did the Police Explorers program, cooking on his own time and at city events. He deserves to have that shelter named after him, not just for him, to honor him, but for generations to come, for the community, for people and for people to remember him. Put him on display. Put a big thing in the wall. When you walk in, have a big plaque. Don't just put the adoption center after him. He helped build that place. He did. I sat with them many times to talk over about plans and with the staff. It just is it's the best thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And I know and it's not just me talking about it. I get a lot of questions, what's going on, what's going on? I go, I really don't know. I know this was brought up months and months ago by the commission, and we were told that we would be supported, and we haven't. So I just think it's a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the community, for the family, for the staff, for Augie, and for the animals. And I'm looking forward to everything. And please, I don't want to hear we don't name buildings after people. We do. Because on the page of that article, Buck Schaefer Memorial Auditorium, right next to his story. There's schools named after people. There's parks. So think about that and just do the right thing, please.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Let me put my teaching glasses on, and I'm glad there's somebody shorter than me. My name is Juliana Glyden, and I live at 512 North Mary here in Porterville. I've been a friend of the library for 15 years, and right now I'm secretary and have been for 15 years. I also am a member of the Library Planning Commission since its inception. I have 2 items to talk about. First, I appreciate the city's plan for additional sports complexes. However, the same energy should be spent on the library. We not only need strong bodies, we need strong minds. Second, to borrow a phrase from a very famous movie, if you build it, we will come. If we build it, the money will come. And to that end, I have presented a list that's been created by the Friends of the Library of ways to fund the new library. And I do hope that you read it and look at our suggestions and hopefully help us in this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Brock Neely, address on record. A few meetings ago, I presented you all with this packet. This packet is all the information on the transition of the Library Board of Trustees to a Library and Literacy Commission, which was performed unlawfully. Also included in this is the court opinion on the Monterey Park lawsuit by the Friends of the Library. They did the same thing. They had to reverse what they did. So the only time you're allowed to change from a board of trustees to a commission is when your population base is 100,000 or over. We're not there. First thing you need to do is revert back to this and follow the law. I've heard that Ms. Liu has been reviewing this paperwork. She needs to recuse since she wrote the resolution. She's conflicted. You need to hire outside counsel. I am currently looking for a law firm to handle a lawsuit based on this information. So either go do it willingly or do it through the court. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot more to do it through the court. The other thing is, who authorized the architect to bring up the multiple different plans? I heard it wasn't the commission. I heard it was city staff. That is not their job. It is the commission's job to come up with the options. If the city staff is going to do everything, then you need to just do away with the commission and let staff handle it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
I'm a short one, so I'll be adjusting that. So good evening. My name is Christy Martin. I'm here on behalf of the Porterville Chamber of Commerce. I
think she's gone, but again, congratulations to Rebecca, and thank you to you guys for recognizing the outstanding businesses we have here in town. And I highly encourage anybody that's watching or listening, please go out and visit her. Please go out and visit a lot of our small businesses here in town, because without your support, without your patronage, these businesses can't be successful. So I encourage you all to go and check out her facility. With that, I just have some updates on some things that we have coming up. Some events that we have coming up. Our next First Friday Coffee is this Friday at 7 a.m. at Galaxy Theater. We're there every first Friday of the month. Our sponsor this month is going to be Touchstone Pistachio, their pistachio plant out in Terabella. So again, I highly encourage you come out, learn more about what they're doing, how they're giving back to our community. Our next major event that's coming up is our business showcase and our Taste of Porterville. So that's going to be on Friday the 13th, so September 13th from 5 to 8 at the Veterans Memorial Building. We'll have close to 40 businesses out there, samples that you can try from some of our local restaurants and vendors. Our event's being sponsored by Tule River Economic Development Center, and we're going to have a lot of fun activities there and, of course, a chance to win prizes. So come and see us there. That is open to the public, and it is free to attend, so anybody can come out to see us there. We've got 2 ribbon cuttings coming up in the month of September. So one on the 16th at 11 a.m. at Keller Williams with the Cindy Fernandez Group, and then another one on the 28th at 11 a.m. With Tule River Economic Development Corporation, so up at Eagle Feather. Our next coffee with the CEO is going to be September 18th at 9 a.m. at Stafford's. Our last one, we had 26 people there. We filled up his place, so that was really wonderful to see different business owners, different community leaders. So we highly encourage you come out and see us for those as well. We have a workshop that's going to be going on at the end of the month, September 23rd, 6 p.m. That is a free workshop. It's called Surrender to Success. And you can visit our website right up on our homepage to register. Our next Government Affairs Committee meeting is September 26th at noon. This is open to only our chamber members, but it's a really great place for businesses to come and get information. We're also working on more of a public-facing page so people can see what we're taking positions on, what we're watching for our businesses here in the community. And we've got 2 more major events to close out our year. So our nominations are closed for our annual awards ceremony. Thank you everybody that participated in that. Overall, we recognized 28 individuals and businesses that were nominated. So we're going to be going out and working on getting a hold of all of them. We'll be announcing the nominees over our social media in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on that. And that event is scheduled for November 22nd.
30 seconds to summarize.
November 22nd, and we'll be at the Springville Ranch this year. And then lastly, we are working on planning Children's Christmas Parade again this year. So traditionally, the parade's always the Thursday after Thanksgiving. So this year, it is being planned for December 5th. We do have entry applications available on our website. You can go there, look under events, and under the Christmas Parade. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward under oral communications?
Vicki Cervantes, District 3, address on record. I come before council tonight as I am a proud library card holder of nearly 40 years. I started using the library as a child. It was our safe place to go for a medium household income. It's where I fell in love with reading. I would find out later that it would set the direction of my career of nearly 29 years in public library services. I've worked with 2 volunteer groups for needs assessments for the future library in Porterville. I want to thank and commend the hard work that the Parks and Leisure Department, the library staff, and City Council have put into their charge to make that today happen. You definitely do not have an easy decision to make. Money is not flowing for library construction. In my current position, I have 2 building forward grants that total $13.6 million, and I'm finding out that things have escalated, costs have escalated since that grant was written. So I talked about growing up in the library. I know I talked to Councilman Beltran last year at the Family Literacy Fair saying, this is the library. This is the legacy. This is the building that we'll be taking our grandchildren to. Mr. Beltran has grandchildren already. I hope to have grandchildren in the future. I attended the Facility Planning Committee meeting on August 15th, and option 2 is a viable option for the growth of this community. One thing that I've known in the career path that that chose me is that libraries are ever adapting with technology and services. One thing that's imminent is that the population is growing. Summer reading just happened in my respective community that I now work for. There are little babies, there are young families. I want you to think of those families when you're setting the course for the action today. And with that said, I also want you to be mindful of the operational budget it's going to take to go with option number 2, because I don't think that that's been addressed with the community. And the community, of course, has heartache. They were promised through the first needs or through that second needs assessment and through the heartache of the fire. And so I would hope that whatever you decide and what direction you decide to go to, that the community can still have 7 days a week of public library services to facilitate their lifelong learning. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so. Do we have anyone on virtually?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. Let me go ahead and bring him in.
Okay.
Hello?
Please state your name and city of residence, please.
Dane Shrine, 1972 West River Springs, Porterville, California. I was calling in regards to a street sweeper service in this neighborhood, and also an update on the Chili River walkway in this area also. And my stuff's on record, my address and all that, or my phone number's on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
No, Your Honor.
No? All right. We'll now move on to the reports. This is the time for all committee, commission, board reports, subcommittee reports, and staff informational items. Staff informational item?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we do have one staff informational report this evening, and that is the Porterville Rescue Mission update. We are happy to provide an oral report or answer any questions that you might have.
Council already had time to look at the report. I want to say thank you. It's been good and very much appreciated to have the information brought to the table and how close you're working with staff. If there's no comment, please, go ahead.
I just want to make a quick comment. Yeah, I appreciate staff and those at the rescue mission working hard on this. It's not just, individuals with homelessness, substance abuse, and different issues going on with their lives. That element in our community costs a lot of money as we deal with the Navigation Center and the Armory. And so just appreciative of the mission being here in our community that's privately funded, that they're able to navigate different ways that the city can't with programs and different things to offer those who are staying there sobriety and just support system. So they almost house the same amount as our Navigation Center. So that's a big burden that organization has taken on in the community to help those in need. So appreciate them.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment? All right, then we'll just move on. Thank you so much for being in the audience and present. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made, in which event the item will be removed from the consent calendar. All items removed from the consent calendar for further discussion will be heard at the end of scheduled matters. We have items 1 through 17. How does council wish to proceed?
If there's no questions or conflicts, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent items 1 through 17.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. We'll now move on into the public hearings. Item number 18.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have two public hearings for you this evening. The first is the consideration of vesting tentative subdivision map for Westfield Residential Development, and Ms. Calderon will be presenting.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth. I've asked Mr. O'Neill if he can present the item.
Thank you both. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Jeff O'Neill, City Planner. As mentioned, we have before you tonight a subdivision of a small piece of land, approximately 2.86 acres on the north side of Jubilee Lane, north of Westfield Avenue. The general plan designates the project site as medium-density residential, and it's zoned RM2, which is also medium-density residential. The proposal consists of 14 lots for residential development, construction of a single interior cul-de-sac street, and installation of necessary on- and off-site infrastructure and improvements within both that street and the abutting major street right-of-way. The lots proposed range from approximately 6,000 to approximately 9,000 square feet, and the density of development proposed is consistent with the Porterville Development Code and the general plan. The street includes parkway strips, streetlights, and sidewalks with similar improvements to Jubilee Lane adjacent to the project site. There are a couple of items in here that inaccurately describe the CEQA process that was conducted for this project, referring to an initial study and Assembly Bill 52 consultation. Just to clarify what was done, it appeared to staff at the beginning of the project that it may qualify for an exemption under CEQA, as what's known as a Class 32 infill exemption. So the city did contract with Precision Civil Engineering, and they prepared an environmental assessment to assess whether the project both qualified for that Class 32 exemption and whether it may have triggered any of the exceptions to the use of an exemption. And based on the results of that environmental assessment, the environmental coordinator made a preliminary determination that the Class 32 exemption was appropriate for this project. The findings as required pursuant to Development Code Section 400.04 are listed in the staff report. Staff believes those can all be made. And then based on a fair reading of the environmental assessment, we do believe that a Class 32 exemption would apply. Public notice of the hearing was provided in accordance with Government Code Sections 65090 and 91, along with Development Code Section 609.06. And at this point, staff would be happy to take any questions about the project, and we would request that the mayor opens the hearing to the public to take any testimony regarding the proposed development at this time.
Thank you for the report. It is 7:08. I will open up the public hearing. Is there someone that would like to come forth to this item?
Troy Sawyers, Porterville, and you could tell my accent, I wasn't born here. This project is right across adjacent from our church property. It is a big concern that when the development starts, that the road construction will limit or collapse our roading to our church. We facilitate and feed about 400 people per month at this church. We have church kind of every single day. We have something that goes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single day. And when this project begins, or if it begins, then the road will have to be dug up for sewer, water, and we want to have access completely for the whole time for our facility and the use of our facility. Also, it says in this zoning that anybody can put up any kind of house they want there. And I have concerns with this also. What happens on a Sunday morning and somebody's in their backyard and they're naked and people are pulling up and children are pulling up and they're sunbathing and the children see this. It doesn't require fencing. It doesn't require anything for that per se. Now, if a contractor come in and bought it, he would probably be required to put up a fence. So I'd like to ask the council to make this part of a mandatory, to have some kind of fencing or something of there and that adjacent, also if it is approved. Also, I have also more concerns. that people would come in our parking lot, degrade that, which we've already seen with people doing donuts and things of this nature. From the other apartments, they come over there and have come over there and turn on our water fire hydrants and went out there and swim in the middle of our parking lot with the water fire hydrants, and then we're paying the $1,500 water bill. And so this is some very concerns for us, especially if it's right in front of us. We have a parking lot of probably the size of this little room here across, and then we have 6 feet of coverage into that area. And if somebody builds a house there, they can do whatever, and that's their right, it's their house. But we'd like to put up some kind of fencing or make some kind of adjustment in this area if this goes through and if this passes. And would also ask the council that our road would not be tore up, that we could have access full-time to our facility. This is very concerning. What happens if I tell a family on Tuesday I can't feed them? What happens on Saturday if I tell them that? What happens on Wednesday when we're counseling abused children or abused women? I mean, what happens in those times? And I say, well, you can't get in because we got people parked in the middle of the road or the road's tore up.
You have 30 seconds to summarize.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to come and speak on this item? Please do so. No? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. It is 7:11. I will close the public hearing and bring it to council. Councilmember Beltran, any comment, any concern to this item? Any questions of staff?
Now, just looking over the report, and I don't know if staff could speak to it, but on section 15, any proposed fencing, freestanding walls to comply with section 300.03, fences and freestanding walls, to ensure that there would be not open, public to view and what's going on there. It does show, there's possibility that there could be 2-story homes, so, something could be seen that's above the fence line and what have you. If it was a situation like that, I give, the sensitive nature of kind of the church atmosphere to kind of, what somebody might expose on their windows or flags or different stuff that might not coincide with a faith-based community like that. Yeah, I'm not sure about the roads because it is interesting because there's only one way in right there, and I'm not sure where the sewer lines come through, how that ties in. I'm sure there would be some type of factor where they could work around that because, working on Ville and all these streets, I see how construction's able to adapt where they're putting metal plates down and what have you for temporary use to not stop the flow of traffic. But I'm sure in something like this, in a tentative agreement where as those things move forward and kind of a more of a structured design and what it looks like, that I think all those problems could be mitigated before it becomes a problem for you guys. So appreciate bringing up those factors. Even though we have the locator map, we don't know your daily functions. Like you said, some people think of a church, it's only on Sundays, but for an organization like you, it's 7 days a week, which appreciate you guys offer that in the community. I think that's all for now for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
I also want to thank staff for the detailed report here. If I may, City Manager, Mr. O'Neill, you had a comment that something about CEQA wasn't quite accurate, that a Class 32 exemption, however, showed that it is appropriate. So I was just kind of confused. What might have been wrong, or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, so as the report was being packaged into the agenda, material from another staff report was inadvertently left in this, and the 2 specific sections that I'm referring to, one describes tribal consultation under Assembly Bill 52. That was done as part of an initial study process. An initial study would generally lead to a negative declaration, mitigated neg dec, or EIR. That AB 52 component was not actually performed for this project because there's no statutory requirement for it.
Okay.
So I wanted to clarify that. And then later in the document, there is reference to an initial study that was prepared, and what was prepared was not actually an initial study. It was more of an environmental assessment because it was leading into a different type of determination than what an initial study leads into.
Thank you. I followed that. So we're good to go. I really like the report, how it details out the city council must deny the tentative map if any of the following findings are surfaced. And there's 7 elements here, and I appreciate the language in it that shows that these conditions don't exist. So the project is well thought out, well planned. A couple of questions. I see the map, and I don't know if we could get it up on the screen for people online to see or people here to see the locator map for this item 18. There we go. So typically when we do construction in the city, I know we're doing it on Lombardi now, the developer is required to do some road improvements. So I'm looking at Jubilee Lane there on the south side, the bottom. Are there road improvements that are going to be needed for Jubilee Lane?
I can speak to that. The current street width is 36 feet from face of curb to face of curb, which meets our current city standard. So as far as road improvements, there'll only be 2 curb ramps cut in for the future road that's going to go up the middle of that property. Otherwise, there'll be trenching for utility lines to be brought in, such as sewer and water.
And will the sewer and water come in from Jubilee Lane, or will it be coming in from another, maybe an easement behind the houses on Charles Lane and, is that Clinton? Or
Right.
do we know yet where the utilities?
Yeah, so sewer is readily available there at Westfield and Jubilee Lane. They may they'll have to pull and connect to that line. And for water, they'll have to have 2 points of connection. And water exists on both Westfield and then the east side of the State Route 65 right-of-way.
Okay. And then, what's the time frame to tie in a sewer roughly, or to put water in there? How long would we need to have the street available? They don't usually take the whole street. They usually leave one lane at all times, correct, for emergency services or whatever?
Correct. It is our standard practice to leave at least one lane open, and we would require flaggers, if that is the case, to be provided by the contractor. And at the end of the day, they'll have to backplate or backfill and or put trench plates over that, so it's not a safety issue. And it just depends on the extent of the utility work, the length and depth. But water is simpler since it's shallower. I'd say that can be done, within a week to 2, depending on connections and testing that has to be done. Sewer might take a bit longer, like 2 to 3 weeks for this area.
When they close out the end of their day and they install a trench plate, I always notice they put like a asphalt layer around it, a little bit of a bump. Is there a technique to maybe have those plates set down in the existing pavement so it's more of a flush, more like a lip, if you will, that the plate could sit on, so it'd be a smoother transition?
Right, we've done that before. Again, the initial preference is that it's fully backfilled, and then cold mix asphalt is put on top so it maintains flush surface so that it's rideable, no bumps. But in the event that we do need to put trench plates, we have done flush trench plates before. One example being Olive, because it's higher speed, higher volume.
Okay. And then I appreciate Councilmember Beltran's note of the fencing and the second story. Do we know what type of homes they're deciding to build? Are they going to be single story on one side of the property and maybe 2-story on another side where there's 2-story houses possibly on Clinton and Charles, and maybe single stories on the side of the church? Do we have any information about that yet?
Absent a defined objective development standard in the development ordinance, we don't have the authority to require placement of single versus multifamily, or not multifamily, but multi-story homes.
Thank you for that information. However, if they heard tonight what a concern was, they could do it on their own goodwill, correct?
That is correct. And
Okay.
I believe if there are any questions specific to that or similar things, that the developer may be on Zoom.
If the developer is on Zoom and they, well, yeah, if they're there, is there somebody from the development firm that could speak to this?
It'll be Abel Baca.
Yeah, yes, give me one moment to bring it in. Hi, this is Abel Baca.
Hi, good evening. My name is Don Wyrock, and I'm a council member here, and thank you for this planned development and taking this piece of property and infilling it with some very much-needed housing in Porterville. You've heard the comments possibly tonight. Have you heard the comments from the public related to the project?
I did.
Okay. And so the housing sizes, I see the lot sizes in here. Do you have an idea of the house sizes and the amount of two-story versus single-story houses, or is it premature for that? I'm just asking in regards to a comment by a community member, a pastor in the adjacent property about activities, possibly even at the second floor of a house that abuts the church property.
Correct. I'd say it's premature for that at this point. Initially, we had a plan for a single story, not double story. But at this point, we had to go with a different plan for the cul-de-sac. So I'd say it's premature for that.
I'd like to thank you again for choosing Porterville to, and helping us develop this part of our community. Madam Mayor, I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Meister?
Well, great work to my colleagues. We highlighted a lot of the questions, right? The fence. One thing I would recommend is maybe leave your information with staff so that that way you guys can coordinate when those cuts are going in the roads, so you could be prepared, right? And you know the dates that it's coming. So if you leave your information with staff, that would be a good thing. As far as the development, this is good for our community. We have constituents out crying for a library tonight. Yes, it's an outcry for a library. And in order to create that wealth in this community, we need developers to develop and bring that kind of wealth. So I want to push forward with this. If it's 2 stories, I believe that's good for our community as well. We can't dictate what they do on this property in that sense. And so hopefully nobody's flying those kinds of flags or anything that would upset you guys, but this is America. And so there's a certain stance that we have to take on that. I want you also to know that I am your representative in this district, so if there's anything that you need, reach out to me, okay? Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I think the council members have pretty much addressed any question or concern. My feeling is just that it's consistent with the appropriate zoning and general plan.
I am always appreciative when people come and actually speak under public comments, because it lets us listen. And if we have the developer, if we have the party that's listening online, that they would be able to work and address some concerns. It's good to see you here, Jeff. Always a pleasure to have you here. But with that being said, I have no problem with the information that has been placed forward. So how does council wish to proceed? I'm bringing it back to council.
I'm wondering if Pastor Sawyer would be willing to come and share some of his thoughts about the feedback and the discussion we just
We've
had.
already closed the public hearing. If he would like to have that communication, he could have it with staff. Yes. How does council wish to proceed?
I'd like to make a motion to consider the adoption of the draft resolution. Oh, am I reading the wrong one? Sorry. My thing skipped around. Apologize. Does anyone want to
Number
jump in for
18.
me?
I'll make a motion to go with staff
Thank you.
recommendation.
Thank
you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. The second public hearing before you this evening is the 2023-2024 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER, and Ms. Calderon will be presenting this item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madrid. So the city's 2023-2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report has been prepared for submittal to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The CAPER reports on specific federal assistance allocated to the city for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. The CAPER is the performance reporting tool for the 23-24 Action Plan program year and is required by HUD guidelines. Performance reporting meets 4 basic purposes. It provides HUD with the necessary information for the department to meet its statutory requirement to assess each grantee's ability to carry out relevant programs in compliance with all applicable rules and regulations. It provides information necessary for HUD's annual report to Congress, and it's statutorily mandated. It also provides grantees an opportunity to describe to citizens their successes in revitalizing deteriorated neighborhoods and meeting objectives stipulated in their consolidated and annual action plans. And it assures the citizens, community groups, and other interested stakeholders in the community development process and are accurately informed of the use of federal resources. So as required by HUD regulations and the Citizens Participation Plan, staff obtained and seeked citizen participation by publishing and posting bilingual public comment notices. On August 16th, 2024, staff published a public notice in English in the Porterville Recorder and in Spanish in the Noticiero Semanal. The CAPER was made available for review electronically on the city's website and at City Hall. Additionally, this information was posted on the city's social media pages. The notices state public comments may be submitted electronically and by phone by September 3rd, 2024 by 5 p.m. At the time of this report, no comments were received. However, staff was able to update some information since the publishing of the draft, which is reflected in the attached CAPER as redline. If comments are received prior to the close of the comment period, staff will respond to the comments before the CAPER is submitted to HUD, and that is due September 28th, 2024. So the recommendation tonight is to have City Council conduct a public hearing and consider any comments received, consider the draft 2023-24 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, and direct staff to submit said report to the Department of Housing and Urban Development by the required deadline.
Thank you. For your report, it is 7:27. I will open up the public hearing for this item. Is there anyone that would like to come forward for number 19, public hearing? No one in the audience? Is there anyone online?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. It is 7:20. What did I just say? 7:27. Okay, it's 7:28. I will close the public hearing and bring it to council. Councilmember Beltran, any comment? Nothing? Councilmember Wyrock?
Great report. I just want to commend the department for keeping good track of all of these funds and all of these activities. As I was reading through it and then reviewing it again this afternoon, I just imagined if there was twice as much money available to help the people that are struggling in our community to get housing or to do any of the number of things that we spell out here in this report. And I really applaud the ability of staff to get us to this level, but just want to encourage us to think about how we could help more people and to just continue getting the message out there to the realtors and everybody else about the programs that are available to them. So thank you again for this report.
Councilmember Meister, any comment?
No comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
No comment.
No comment on my behalf. How does council wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendations for item, is it 1 through 3?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. We'll now move into the scheduled matters.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first scheduled matter before you is the vacation of a portion of College Avenue, and Mr. Sanchez will be presenting.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth. Madam Mayor and members of council, a public hearing took place at May 7th, 2024, earlier this year to consider the proposed vacation of an improved segment of College Avenue at Main Street. As you know, Porterville College is implementing their facilities master plan, and part of that work entails cutting off, a portion of College Avenue to provide campus connectivity for future projects. We were asked to bring this back at that May 7th meeting for an update, and so here we are. The College Way and Triunfo Avenue roadways are still under construction. Utility work is being wrapped up in the next few weeks, and it is planned that during the month of October, they'll be putting in the street improvements. In order to complete the street improvements, it would require the vacation of the right-of-way so that they can build across the roadway as it's planned. As part of that order of work, it would create a detour situation in that area, which the college has come up with and submitted a plan for the city's fire marshal review and approval in order to maintain compliance with the fire code in case of an emergency. Should the city council approve the vacation of the segment of College Avenue at Main Street, the resolution of vacation will be adopted, and the city clerk will process a recordation of said resolution and accompanying utilities easement within the boundaries of the segment of College Avenue that is to be vacated. It is a recommendation that the city council consider adoption of the draft resolution of vacation of a portion of College Avenue, and if approved, authorize the city clerk to record said resolution of vacation. I will note that administrative staff from Porterville College is present if there are any questions that you would like to ask them as well. That concludes the report.
Thank you for that information. I always say I really appreciate when there's representation in the event that there are questions when it's brought to council. Does council have any comment? No? Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you. I wonder if we have an update on the property line for the adjacent property owners on, I'm going to mispronounce it, Triunfo?
Triunfo, yes.
Yes. Is there an update on the fence line and
Would
their
the college like to
satisfaction?
share an update, since they've been working directly with the property owners on that one?
That was communication between them directly.
Yeah, and I'm just curious if there's any update on how that relationship's going and how the fence is coming. I'm hearing it's going quite well, and I appreciate the contractor and the school's effort to appease the neighbor and help the neighbor. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting me address the council. My name is Mike Giacomini. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Kern Community College District, which oversees all the construction activities for our 3 colleges, including Porterville College. We've been in contact with the homeowners virtually every week since well before we met you in May. And we've come up with a plan, and we've addressed a fencing option that we've run by all the homeowners, and they are in agreement that it should be able to meet the needs that they were asking for and be able to facilitate us to continue with the project. And we've worked with the city to ensure that that was a viable option for since they'll be taking over the aesthetics of it, but we'll be responsible for it and taking care of the maintenance of it. So I believe we're in a good standing with our neighbors and continue to have the open conversations and dialogue with them.
Great. Thank you so much.
Very
Truly
welcome.
appreciate the efforts. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Just a statement, thank you for collaborating with those property owners. I know it's Mr. Reed, correct? Yes, Mr. Reed, I know you've been calling and talking and working with those people that had those concerns. So thank you for Porterville College for your efforts on getting this done. Thank you.
Vice Mayor? No comment on my behalf. I just want to say I really appreciate staff working with staff, the college staff working with city staff to get to where they are today. And With that being said, how does council wish to proceed?
I got to second that. Staff, thank you guys. You really took initiative on this and got it going forward. And with that, I'll make a motion to go with staff recommendation.
I'll second that
We have a
motion.
motion, we have a second, no further discussion, call for the vote. It passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along.
Thank you, Your Honor. The last scheduled matter before you this evening is a consideration of the Library Facility Planning Committee's design recommendations for the Porterville Public Library project, and Mr. Moore will be presenting this item.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth, Honorable Mayor, and members of the council. At its meeting on August 15th, 2023, the City Council awarded the design contract for the Porterville Public Library to Paul Halajian Architects, PHA, to be shorter, of Clovis. PHA has concluded Phase 1, Programming and Conceptual Design, which included the review of the circulated needs assessment, programming, budget, scope, and site development costs. This phase also included meetings with staff and stakeholders to discuss vision, obtain direction regarding needs, service model, public engagement, and other foundational issues. Subsequent tasks included development of design standards, conceptual sketches, and collaborative design sessions, leading to a public engagement meeting to review program elements with visuals and basic organizational diagrams, and a public survey. The culmination of the efforts in Phase 1 led to the generation of a cost estimate for the 40,000 square foot multi-use facility as defined by the needs assessment in the amount of $40,915,500, a significant increase to the initially anticipated budget amount of $30 million for the project. PHA was subsequently directed to provide multiple options for the library design. PHA started their efforts with the new directive by engineering a program to identify a project scope that is within the initial proposed budget and inclusive of construction and site development, design fees, construction contingency, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, shelving, and other components to complete the project. Various options were outlined by PHA, bringing the programmatic area into alignment with the total project budget, as well as a list of other options at varying budget amounts for the council's consideration. The goal of providing the various options is to help find a delicate balance between building area and building quality character, as well as the best way to maximize the available budget. The options are as follows. Option 1 is construct a full build-out of the 40,000 square feet at a cost of $40,915,500. Option 2 is the reduction of area across the entire program such that most, if not all, programmatic areas can be constructed initially within the $30 million budget without requiring future construction or tenant improvements. The design and site layout would provide the potential for future expansion at a later stage. And this includes all areas of the program with a 30% reduction of everything, the size coming out to 24,600 square feet and the cost at $30 million. The next option, option 3, is reduction of programmatic area with the potential for future phases. The initial phase would include an approximately 24,000 square foot building consisting of the core spaces and those programmatic areas identified in the public survey as middle to high priority. Build out of core spaces with the ability to add future phases to include remaining spaces is what this option is all about, with the size once again of 24,000 square feet and a cost of $30 million. The next option, option 4, is a reduction of programmatic area by constructing the entire shell of the full proposed library program and then only completing the portion of the interior spaces afforded by the remaining budget. The remaining square footage, which is the unfinished interior, would be completed during future phases. This results to a 6,900 square foot finished interior with a 33,100 square foot unfinished interior for the total 40,000 square foot shell and the cost once again of $30 million. Option 5 of 7 is a reduction of area across the entire program to meet a $20 million budget, with site development reduced proportionately. The proposed budget would allow for a 16,100 square foot library with full programming. And the cost of that, once again, $20 million. Option 6 is construction of a 30,000 square foot library with site development to meet a $30 million budget. The proposed budget would allow for a 30,000 square foot shell building only with no interior build out, and that would not be possible. The cost $33,300,000 for that 30,000 square foot shell. And then option 7, construction of a 30,000 square foot library with full interior build out and proportional reduction of the site improvements for a cost of $37,300,000. The 7 options detailed above were presented to the Library Facility Planning Committee at their regularly scheduled meeting on August 15th, 2024, to ascertain their preferences for said options. Their top rankings of the options are as follows. Option 2 ranked at the highest, followed by option 1 and option 3, which was a tie for second, and then that was followed by option 4. PHA's ability to continue their work and move on to the next phase of the design process, the schematic design phase, is contingent on the selection of a design option. It is important to note that the overall master planning of the site, which includes the future sportsplex, is also dependent on the selection of the design option. Layouts and connections throughout the entire site will need to be designed and finalized to ensure appropriate access and flow in the area. Once the City Council selects a design option, staff will bring back funding options for City Council consideration. As the council will recall, the city received a $7.2 million grant from California State Library for the new facility, in addition to the property insurance proceeds from the former library fire incident, for an estimated total of approximately $15 million. Staff's recommendations that the City Council review and consider the recommendations of the Library Facility Planning Committee regarding design options and direct staff to research and bring back for consideration options for funding of the project. I'd like to note tonight that Mr. Paul Halajian, aforementioned, is in our audience and would be happy to answer questions. Ms. Jamie Steinmetz is on Zoom. She's a senior associate at PHA, and she's also available to answer questions. That concludes staff report.
What a wonderful report. It has a lot of information, and a lot of work has gone into this, from discussions, from the initial forming of the library committee to that regard, and a lot of involvement. So it's moved from the first initial discussion when it was just a thought, and meeting after meetings, and the involvement of the community, and Vice Mayor, with an emphasis to thank you as bringing the information back to us for meetings. It's not an easy task. And with that, I just want to bring it to council and start with Councilmember Beltran if there's anything he'd like to comment or bring to the table. As I said, what we're discussing tonight is to give staff direction as to the facility.
Yeah, thank you for the input from the community. We take all those considerations and questions in regards to this. You know, there's a lot of different angles. I'm sure there's 5 different perspectives just up here alone. But just getting down to the nuts and bolts of it is, for me, being fiscally responsible, but also knowing that we are a community that's growing and we're serving not just Porterville. You know, I was doing some research on this for the last few months, and you know, a lot of people want to compare to Tulare, which it is a beautiful library. I don't know, about a fourth of it is actually city council chambers, so it doesn't count as a square footage. They're also only open 5 days a week, whereas Porterville's open 7 days. Yeah, I appreciate Ms. Cervantes' acknowledging about, it's not just the cost to build, it's the cost to the yearly operations, upstaffing, utilities, maintenance on a facility that size. The old library, even I believe currently is around $650,000 a year. One this size, we're looking at about $1.6 million a year. That this isn't like trash service or water service where the community gets a bill and it helps offset the cost. The library obviously doesn't make any money. So at 16% of the Parks and Leisure's budget right now, you're looking at $1 million increase to that budget. That's got to come from somewhere. So staff and city council has to decide, okay, well, what $1 million is going to come from what area of those services? So it's not just the building, it's the long-term maintenance of it. I personally appreciate option 2. And I know part of that says it's a 30% reduction of all the recommendations. I do have some thoughts when we get to that on those areas. Personally, I don't understand why a learning kitchen is part of a library need. I also don't know, I wouldn't be like a cafe in there personally, just because now you have sweet drinks, syrup, whatever it might be, in some of these concoctions now around the media labs, around hard book covers, kids around. That would be a nightmare to maintain and keep a beautiful jewel like this in our community clean and orderly without insects or just stains. There's Starbucks, there's Dutch Bros, there's plenty of places to get drinks. But again, with that 30% reduction, if some of these things that aren't necessarily maybe needed, maybe that 30% reduction is maybe 10% or what have you. So that's the overall, the small and the big of what I see as far as all the different options. I mean, given our economy right now, it's very difficult. Staff are miracle workers when it comes to funding grants. This is a big one. I personally, I think the $40 million, that may have to be opened up to bonds or something, let the community vote on that. I see option 2 as being our best foot forward, because also the time frame, our temporary library, there's only so much time we could keep utilizing the funds for that. And the longer we put this project off, the more expensive it's getting. So, that's the gist of my opinion on this. And this isn't something I take lightly, and our community's growing. But just to get this done, I think our staff and our community would make the best of whatever size our library is, and it will continue to be that gem that it has always been. So thank you.
Councilmember Beltran, I can appreciate the comment of having a beverage close to an electronic device. I've done that, where it has just dropped it, I've accidentally hit it, and the rest is history. Councilmember Wyrock, any comment? Any? Vice Mayor?
Sure. So in going through these options, just because when you first hear it, it's a lot of information, it's really fast, and it's an important decision. So I'll go through really quickly the options I don't feel that fit. Option 4 is basically a shell. So why would we even want to invest in something that we're going to have space that's not used or ready for our community? Number 5 to me is too small. I'm just going to be very transparent, I guess, honest. Number 6 to me, 30,000 square feet, but again, just a shell. And then number 7 is almost the cost of 40 million. It's 37.3 there. So going back at the options that the committee discussed, and I'm going to focus on what my perspective was on them. I like option 2, but the option 2 pretty much puts all the programs and puts all the areas that that we discussed in that we wanted, and makes them smaller in that space. I really liked option 3 also, because it builds the more of the priority areas, but gives them a little more space. And then we have the ability to grow with that large lot. We have the ability to grow the library as we see needed. I like that. I know that I'm not comparing it to the Sportsplex, but I feel like it's enhances that we have the Sportsplex there tied to the library and the new trail. I think that all enhances the library to have space for our community. So those are like the two that I really liked. Obviously, number one, there was some votes on that because that's the 40 million. And, you know, my only problem is I have the tie to the committee, which everyone is very passionate and has very good points on there and has been involved for numerous years, decades. So their opinion is definitely valid and valuable. But I have a hard time saying to like basically write a blank check for something that we may or may not have. And there was a lot of conversations, you know, with staff about the ability to grow. How hard would that be? Is that possible? Or is that something like we have this really nice facility and then down the road it'd be like, well, it's very difficult to now try to build something add-ons. And that wasn't the case. It seemed that we could, you know, put that in our plan right now, that is something we would want to potentially do is build out or add on to that. So I thought that was hopeful. I asked about funding, potential funding, and the staff talked about it just depends what's going on during the year, what's available for the different types of funding as far as grants and things like that. I think over the past 4 years, almost 4 years now that I've been on here, I've seen the staff be extremely diligent to get funding for, or seek funding for pretty much every project we've tried to do, every type of project, whether it be transportation or roads or different types of facilities and public safety as well. So I don't feel like we're short there. I just would hate to commit that again to the community and not have the funding. I don't feel 100% confident with that piece of saying, let's do the 40 million. I think we all want that. I want it. But I think there is a couple of different options to at least discuss and throw some dialogue around and ask questions about. That's my comments right now.
Thank you for that. And reserve comment if needed for more.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wyrock.
Thank you for the courtesy of the consideration to hear from the Vice Mayor. You've been involved since the beginning with this, Vice Mayor, and I applaud your efforts and the great work of the Library Commission and the Parks and Leisure Department and the consultants and everybody that's been a part of this. I heard tonight that this item, it looks like we have an estimated $15 million roughly available today, but option 2 is $30 million, so we have half the money. So I was just curious where $15 million most likely will come from. You know, I've heard grants, I'm reading about fundraising, and thank you for these ideas. I think community involvement is huge. I think when we ask the community to help, the community comes together. It's done it time and time again. $15 million is a lot of money. And I don't know if there's some philanthropists in town that are willing to pledge, you know, $15 million. So I was just kind of curious where $15 million comes from. And then from 30 to 40, it's only $10 million more. I know it's just a bottom right-hand number, and there's a lot that goes into that, including site improvements and things like that. But with that, I'm just kind of curious where we think the initial $15 additional million would come from.
So staff has been already working on some funding options. I would rather not speak to something that we're not sure we're going to be able to pull off.
Fair enough.
And the $40 million price tag would be very difficult to get to without a bond measure. So if that would be the consideration, that is likely going to be the option that staff would bring forward for $40 million. But we are working on a variety of different options that would involve debt service payments. But we really need the number, and then we will go and put together options and then bring back, as we stated, the funding options for you.
So without making any commitment, $15 million can be raised and found without a bond measure or some type
Potentially.
of financing piece of paper,
Potentially, yes.
potentially. A few weeks ago, I think we did share some opportunities that might exist with some of the city. You guys have heard me say it a lot, and the council shares this opinion of the stewardship of the staff in the city and having the money set aside for those rainy days. And I applaud that, and I know we have different allocations of funds that are reserved for specific things, and we can't use them for anything else. And did we finally find out that we cannot use any of our reserves in a manner like this? That would, I know we're looking at cost here, but what's the value to the community over time if we were to find an additional $10 million somewhere else? What kind of value could that bring to our community for decades? I'm not saying that the option B is not going to be able to provide that same type of value. I mean, I know we had so many services at the library that we lost. We have so many services and positive reports coming from the library we're currently using. And I know that even option 2 is going to be an expansion from that. So more courses and things for English, and maybe to go to have the taxes prepared for somebody who doesn't know how to do their taxes, like we were talking about earlier with the community block grant program. You know, we haven't really talked about the intangible value that a high-performing facility could do in partnership with, say, Porterville College or the different schools that might use it as a resource. So I wanted to bring that out. Is there a way, I mean, a couple of months ago, well, not even a couple of months ago, we doubled the budget from for our transit agency because we needed some more money, and we found that money. Is there any other current money that we have that could be allocated, possibly allocated to fill any of this, either the first 15 or a whole 25 million? I know it's a big ask. I'm just curious.
So that you're talking about federal funding for transit, it's a completely different
I
thing
understand.
than general fund monies. So that is not a great comparison.
Okay.
But I think what you were alluding to was potentially using reserve funds. Is that what you're asking?
We have a lot of, yes, some reserve funds. And we mentioned briefly the interest rate that we're getting on a CD or whatever at 3%. If we were to cash in, and I'm not, it's just a thought, you know, I know $10 million is a lot to cash in, then the money's there. And if we delay construction, the increase in the cost is only going to go up. So whatever we decide here, it'd be nice to have it fully funded so we could get it going sooner rather than later, get the contractors committed. I don't want to issue change orders for them to expand the footprint or expand the build-out because other money miraculously shows up.
So the option, it probably would not be an option that we would bring forward or recommend in terms of utilizing the city's reserve funds. Firstly, it could impact our rating, our credit rating. And we have, bonds right now, so that might be impactful. And then secondly, so libraries don't generate revenue, and so how would we pay it back? So it would just be utilized, and then we would not be able to replenish the monies.
I did a little poking around just to give you guys examples of how libraries are being funded,
Please.
if you'd like to hear.
Please.
So Sacramento, because there's quite a few generating measures on the November 2024 ballot, since we have an upcoming election here. So Sacramento is doing a special parcel tax and this is just to maintain their ongoing services. And that's on for library services for November 2024. Newport Beach has gone the route of COPs, certificates of participation. So that does not require an election, but you have to have a revenue stream, some kind of ongoing revenue stream, which libraries are not notorious for actually being revenue generating enterprises. So it's hard. So I don't know how they're doing that, but they're the one that I found that was actually doing a COP, or certificates of participation. So Nevada County is doing a special sales tax, or they did a special sales tax to build their library back in 2016. Pasadena currently has a $195 million bond measure on for a retrofit of their very historical library on November. Sunnyvale is doing a $295 million general obligation bond measure. So those are done, and then with those go, when you do a general obligation bond, you're basically doing an assessment on property tax. And theirs is going to cost, it's I think $27.47 for every $100,000 worth of property in the city in order to get there. So Santa Clara's got a $400 million infrastructure bond on the ballot, because they only currently have $25 million in capital projects reserve. And so that's for numerous buildings, including the renovation and expansion of 3 libraries. So it's, the running theme here is that it's general fund money, which is why people are, the cities are looking for, that's how you fund your library. And so those are the kinds of measures you need to consider to kind of get to when you're talking about multi-million dollars. Very difficult to raise that privately, especially here in the Valley. I think it's very big ask for private donations of that much. Could happen, but really, I mean, you can see it. It's, even in areas that are a lot more affluent than us, they're going to the taxpayers ultimately, because all of these measures require funding from the taxpayers.
Yeah, and I thank you. You're always so well prepared. I appreciate that. This little journey down this path was something that I wanted to share with the community, that, the financial stewardship of the city is important, and I don't want to cash, even though I've mentioned it, we have obligations that we have, retirements and things like that we have to make sure that we have available. So I guess in summary, we may not be able to get everything that, option 2 is coming to us by the committee, correct? And finding the additional money would prove difficult. However, once we take this vote tonight, should something happen and checks all of a sudden show up, there's nothing that would prohibit the council from taking action in the future, correct?
Correct, but the architect, based on what your decision is going to then begin preparing plans.
Starting tomorrow. Thank you. No further questions.
Vice Mayor.
I just want to ask a quick question for clarification. So tonight, basically, what staff needs is a direction around funding? And
No, the idea was that we would not be discussing funding this evening.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Let me
That's okay.
re-ask that. Direction around which option, which would show the amount, and then staff would bring back recommendations or options around the funding, around that amount, and then also the option, because then the architect needs to go in that direction.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is why it's nice that some of the options have room for expansion, because you can do it.
Okay. Councilmember Meister?
All right, a couple quick questions. Actually, statements. Reserve funds, to pull cash in reserve funds, I don't want to see it go to the library. I want to see it go to my roads if we were to cash in any reserve funds. And then 2, any kind of tax increase. We are the highest tax city in Tulare County, one of the highest tax cities in the state at a 9.25% tax rate. I do not want to, I'm going to quit as a councilman and move out of the city of Porterville if we raise the taxes any further. And then, as far as the bonds, the credit for the city, I can't remember if the number is 56 or 36 million in bonds. Do any of you remember off the top of your head where we're at on bonds? Water was 36, so we're sitting at 56, because we took a $20 million bond a decade ago for the roads, right? So we're sitting on $56 million in bonds already. To continue to add on to the taxpayer in the city of Porterville is abusive, in my opinion. So with that, question, Councilman Beltran, you painted such a great picture on how to make option 2 come together. I really like how you broke it down. What are the wants and needs, and really expanding on the needs. What would it cost to, I know the 1,800 square foot library, the old one, costs around $1 million a year to fund. What would a 24,600 square foot building cost to maintain here in the city of Porterville?
If we look at Tulare, Tulare's paying about 1.6 a year to
1.6.
operate it.
Gotcha, thank you for that. Another. That's only 5 days a week.
Theirs.
So we could, that's possibly pushing us to around 2 million.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow. I know I've asked this before. What's the square footage of the facility we're using now?
It's around 8,000.
Yeah. Wow, 8,000, thank you. Just a statement I want to make as far as the recommendation going forward. I'd like to thank staff, and great job on getting the $2.5 million for the sports complex. Looking forward to that coming through. And there's a statement here where it says, it's important to note that the overall master planning of the site, which includes the future sports complex, is also dependent on the selection of the design option. So just looking at the options, the design footprint is the same on all of these. So really, the sports complex isn't impacted by the decision tonight, correct?
No,
No.
no.
So we're going to be able to go forward with the sports complex because we have that funding, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. So I would favor, like Councilman Beltran said, and I've written Assemblymember Mathis and Senator Hurtado. The Porterville Library was a crown jewel, and we want that back. I would support option 2. That's where I'm leaning. But like Councilman Wyrock already pointed out, we're $15 million short. So we have a lot of work to do. We're halfway there. And you guys do a great job on pursuing grants, and I look forward to seeing what we can't get done in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Vice Mayor?
I don't think so. I think
Okay. We've heard, we've listened. And having been a part of the initial library when it was a major catastrophe in the city of Porterville, it's not something we ever dreamed. It's not something that we believed would have happened, and it did. We listened and we heard to several community members to having a library, a temporary library for people to continue to go to. And we made that investment because we listened and we heard. Yes, the initial discussion, we had this discussion here with previous council members of the 40,000 square foot. And there was discussion about all these programs that were possibly going to happen, or things all these ideas that were brought to the table.
The committee was formed, and I don't personally like to see disappointment for community. It's very hard and it's very difficult. And as I was listening to the other council members ask their questions and listening to the needs of the audience and their input, and I'm very grateful that the architect is here and he's listening to all the needs, and the decision is focused on which option it is that we're going to go. I heard the emphasis on option 2, which I don't have a problem with it. I'm good with it. It seems like it's been the stronger of the dialogue from the committee to the council. We are going to have another discussion at another meeting for funding, but the direction we're giving tonight is to which option we're going to go. So I'm going to ask Councilmember Beltran for which option. I know, I'm just going to say, I want to confirm which option. Councilmember Wyrock? 2. Councilmember Meister?
I'm going with 2 with Councilman Beltran's vision.
And Vice Mayor?
I'm good with 2.
Number 2. So that is all full council with option 2, and that is the direction we are giving. Okay. I'm making the motion, let's do it.
I'll second.
All right, no further discussion, let's call for the vote. It passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much for your patience and listening to all the dialogue. Fully appreciated. Mr. O'Neill, you can leave. Okay, this is your cue.
Waiting for you, thank you.
You were waiting for that cue, all right. We'll now move on to the AB 1234 reports. This is the time for all AB 1234 reports pursuant to Government Code 53232.3. The first one is on the Tulare County Task Force of Homelessness of August the 21st. I attended in person. The minutes of July were approved. There was discussion as to ad hoc versus standing committees. This conversation was focused on subcommittee, a subcommittee, like we have subcommittees. That was the emphasis. And the refresher was to the previous month, County Council provided information as to the legal requirements and what would comply with the Brown Act. The Homeless Task Force agreed to move with the ad hoc committees. A member nomination position is filled by Henry Leon. He was voted to fill in the lived experience member position and got to share his unhoused story and where it is and where he's gone to, and he was excited to be a participant to represent on the Homeless Task Force. Bylaws, update recommendations. Well, there was the approval of draft, the change of when it will go to the board. This is where I'm going to put an emphasis. You have been hearing me report out that Claudia and I have filled out the survey and there was not really much to discuss and this because it didn't pertain to Porterville. There was a review and the discussion of goal number 5, objectives of the strategic plan. That goal is to strengthen public engagement, community-wide partnerships to ensure resources to address homelessness that are being used as effectively as possible. Even though Claudia and I attended, while most of the strategies did not apply, there was definitely one strategy objective at this meeting that brought city engagement and discussion. Strategy 5.2 in the handout that we received, it specifies centralize the countywide homelessness response strategy to avoid duplication and get most value of limited resources. Under that, there was an objective, 5.2.3, which is to establish jurisdictional action committees to coordinate local strategic plan, implement in each municipality, and report to the countywide task force. Well, that raised eyebrows. mayor from Tulare shared their experience to actually have formed a committee, and it did not work for them. At that point, I stated that what works for one city does not work for the other city. I shared that Porterville is unique, that our city was the first to address the community population of the unhoused, and we're the first to move and implement the navigation center. Our previous and current council are proactive to support. I stated that we have always had a council member representation on the Link Committee who works with several of the organizations there. I also stated that each time that we have attended a homeless task force meeting, we share the information that is at the homeless task force meeting here in council chambers, and we report out. That we have a proactive staff, and that we ramped up the participation to the SMART team, and that we have also reported our updates to the homeless task force. So that communication has been done all along. At this meeting, I stated the mobile shower unit was recently installed and soon to be operational, that our SMART team continues to work with agencies in the community and to provide the resources to individuals experiencing homelessness in the community. The emphasis is what works for one city does not work for another. Council members are proactive to this regard, and that we were very proud of the decisions that we have made in our city. After much discussion, there was a motion that was made by Mary Alice Escarcega-Fechner to remove this item from the strategic plan. I seconded the motion, and it was a unanimous approval by members present. Otherwise, it would have stayed in there, and there would have been a constant review. So it has been removed. That concludes my report. The next meeting is scheduled for September the 18th. Moving right along. The next one is the Tulare County Economic Development. There is nothing to report. We did not attend. After review of the agenda, the emphasis of the agenda, we're just focused on updates, so we didn't make that early morning 7 o'clock, leave at 7 to get there by 8. And our next meeting is September the 25th. Eastern Tule Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Councilmember Wyrock.
The ETGSA met on Thursday, August 29th at 2 p.m. The agenda included a closed session, a couple of closed session items with nothing to report out. We opened it up for public comment, and we received none in the chambers here or online. With the consent calendar, there was a request to approve the meeting, the board meeting from August 1st, and we made a slight change on some attendance, and that was approved unanimously. Then we went into the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, the GSP. The staff report on the amended GSP was provided. It was a lengthy document available to us electronically, and the action was to approve and adopt the amended GSP. Before we took that action, we received a bunch of reports from different people, like the Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, Community Water Center, and various other groups with their comments to the amended GSP. We received some information from various residents throughout the Eastern Tule GSA regarding their concerns with the GSP as was written. We received some comments from self-help enterprises as well. Continuing on, Friant Water Authority was kind enough to provide some information to the board for us to consider as we reviewed all of the items related to the GSP and the amendment, and then even the Artisan Edison Water Storage District had comments. After taking a look at these comments and seeing how they weave into the GSP, we had I believe there was two presentations that showed how The majority, if not all, of these concerns were woven into the existing GSP. So the board, there was a motion, and I think there was two, it was almost unanimous. There were two representatives that did not support the resolution 2024-03 to adopt the amended GSP. So it carried, and it's moving forward through the different regulatory agencies with the high hopes that the positive work that our Eastern Thule GSA has done with stakeholders and the plans that we have in place should be well received at the state level. We looked at a little bit of administration things. There was a landowner appeal that was denied, and we looked at some accounting and invoicing and heard a report on landowner outreach. We had a report from the Thule Sub-Basin Coordination and Thomas Harder and Company task items. The meeting went well. It was very productive, I felt, and the next meeting date is not going to be September 5th. However, it's going to be October the 3rd at 2 p.m. here in the council chambers. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, looks like, Jason, it may be that time. Where are you? There you are. I was over here. Wait a minute. Now we'll move on to oral communications. Is there anyone that would like to come forward?
Hi, it's me, Alexis, again. I just want to touch on the library topic. Thank you guys so much for having the conversation. It was super productive, and I appreciate that. I was taking some notes, just like you guys do, and I wanted to mention some things. Mr. Beltran, I appreciate your fiscal responsibility to the city, and Ms. Hildreth, I appreciate the mention that there are funding solutions out there potentially. It's nice to hear that, because sometimes it doesn't feel like that, right? So I appreciate you guys explaining that. It was awesome to hear about the operational budget, because we don't think about that when we hear $40 million. We're like, oh my gosh, we could build so much with that, but that's one payment, right? We still have yearly payments to operate the library, so that was awesome to listen to again. Mr. Beltran, one thing you did say was the cafe and learning kitchen. I agree with you, it doesn't belong in a library. However, when I did attend the library facilities planning meeting, they did mention that the design you see is not permanent, so you can change those spaces, and I thought that was really interesting because I hate to say it, but we had one fire and we don't really need another one with a cafe and a library. Mr. Wyrock, I liked your question on where we would find the additional $15 million. My question for city staff, and because I don't know money, is where's all the weed money going? Can we take any of the weed money and put it towards the library? Because I don't know how that works, but I know we get taxes from that, and I know they're popular. So maybe that's something to think about. I don't know how it works, but that was my idea. You're right, it does have an intangible value to this community, so putting any value on it really kind of sucks, but here we are, and I really appreciated the examples of how other libraries are making money, because I think it will really let us know that we don't want more taxes. We don't want bonds, right? That would be even worse. It puts us in a worse position than we are now to have to put bonds onto your community. Mr. Meister, while I don't appreciate the comment about not using reserve funds on the library, I agree. They do need to go to our roads, because far beyond complaints about the library, I hear about the roads all the time. I think that's all I have. I did want to let you guys know that my last day at the Recorder is Friday. That makes me sad, and it's been so wonderful to work with all of you and listen to these meetings. You guys have taught me so much, city staff too. I appreciate the time you guys have taken to walk me through the city and how it really works, because it's so much. So thank you guys for the conversation tonight, and thank you for your knowledge. I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do I have to introduce myself again? Vicky Cervantes. I just want to take the opportunity. I'm not too sure if I'll be able to attend another council meeting, but I wanted to let you know, through my parents, I heard that 2 of you are not seeking reelection. And I want to thank you for for you becoming elected officials, the 2 of you, mayor and vice mayor, for setting an example for young women and to be civic-minded individuals and the governance of community. So I wanted to thank you for your service in case I don't get an opportunity to do so on another time. I also want to let you know that I attended the Veterans Resource Fair on Saturday, and it was at the Elks Lodge. It was well attended. I was actually invited by the Hanford veterans that come over to the library for a cup of joe to come to that resource fair. And I also was disappointed to some extent that why wasn't our Porterville City governance there with a table talking about first-time homebuyer programs or other types of activities. Because I do know we are very veteran-oriented. I took my dad over. He's a veteran from the Army, and so he got new information. He'll be 80 in March, and so it was great to go over to that resource fair and support the community through an outside invitation, if you will. So I wish the 2 of you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, and I am around to be civically minded with the 2 of you, depending on what activities you decide to take on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Primavera Menares, interim president of Porterville College. I'm a resident of Bakersfield. I just want to acknowledge your team, the city staff, and how collaborative they are in partnering with the institution. We've had courageous dialogue. We've reviewed multiple options regarding the road realignment project, but we've been very open to those options, and it's been a pleasure, and your staff has been very welcoming, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Anyone else? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then we'll move on to other matters. Councilmember Beltran.
Well, thank everybody for, it feels like a long meeting today, even though it's shorter than normal.
Right along, though.
Feels like a lot because it was kind of heavy earlier. Just want to acknowledge once again the City Employee of the Month, Tori Berry, and just a great example of somebody who goes and furthers their education and then comes back to our community to just bring that knowledge and enthusiasm, especially as a civic job for our local government. I just appreciate them, her, and then especially the Outstanding Business Honoree, Imagine Art Center. I've participated with some paint nights there. It's really fun, just something to do different in our community. So just thank them for existing and taking up a location on Main Street, just giving some new life to that area. Going back to the library situation, just a couple things I forgot to mention was one thing is it's brought up about some type of litigation or some kind of issue. I'd recommend reading the city charter, Article 2, Section 14. It talks about Library and Literacy Commission, and in there you'll find that powers and duties of the commission shall recommend library policy to the city council for adoption, and some other various things, items A through I, but no in there where you'll say that they dictate what happens. They basically give recommendations. A lot of those recommendations are given to city council members, and then that's just how that information goes back and forth as far as staff not independently taking upon themselves to dictate what decisions are made. It's always collaborative, so it's kind of sad to hear that comment earlier.
Councilmember Beltran, do you want me to add to that too?
Sure.
Me as well. We haven't had a really chance to directly address it, and I know that Mr. Neely's not in the audience, but so a couple things. Section 56 of our charter establishes, basically establishes the library and puts it in full control of the city council. We are a charter city. Charter cities operate under different regulations in the state code than other entities, and I think there might be some confusion regarding entities, so that's issue number one. Issue number two is that I did nothing to do with the Board of Trustees language change. That happened, I think, a long time ago. And I don't have any point of reference on the history of that. I think that it changed. So by the time I was around, it's been a commission or committee and it's been an advisory committee for as long as, I think the one I made a change, it had to do when the council had authorized a change to add literacy into the name or something. So it was very minor change. It was not, had nothing to do with the structure at the time that I was involved, for what it's worth. But I think that's kind of a moot point anyways, frankly. So anyways, just to clarify the record a little bit.
Thank you, and that's why I brought it up. We're a charter city, operates a little bit differently outside of what the state recommends. And so I just give him that to, he could watch this YouTube video and do some research on his own. Let's see. I love the development stuff that's going on in our community, with the Brookside development with housing in our community. Another, possible development off of Westfield there. I mean, we are trying as much as possible to get our community to have more housing and then also lower income housing as much as possible. And this goes back to earlier actions. Let's see. I want to thank the, overall the council when we did our encampment ordinances. There's been an impact in our community. I've heard great successes in different areas in the community where there were some encampments along the sloughs, along business areas, kind of some just hidden areas. So the SMART team was increased from 2 people to now 5, and that's 7 days a week. People don't see behind the scenes the number of calls that are given to PD to deal with. So just, this effort, as Madam Mayor stated earlier, was before I even became a member, and it'll continue to be an issue. And just know that the city is constantly working on developing services and programs, and in this case, an ordinance with law and stuff to help those in need, and if not, make it uncomfortable to just be unlawful in our community. We want a safe, healthy community, even for those who are struggling. But just, all in all, it's just great. I mean, I get so much out of these meetings, going through the agenda and learning whether it's the finance of the library or building or just the mundane day-to-day operations. I just want to thank staff and just community members that showed up today to show their passion for the library or the animal shelter. There's so many aspects to our community that we just see maybe our one side or what our day-to-day lives deal with. But just, I'm honored every time we deal with stuff like this. Some think it's difficult, but it's truly an honor to sit up here and help decide our future for our community. So thank you.
Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you. This last week, week and a half, we received some text messages about some emergency response that was given by our public safety department. And I'd like to thank them and for their response and for all their help in the community, and the detectives for following up on leads and cleaning up our community in certain areas. I applaud their efforts. I pray they stay safe, and I'm sure with their training and their mentoring of one another, we'll continue to have a safe public safety office. Also, the firefighters who did some mutual aid on the Shelley fire, leaving town, wildfires. Don't know the details of the work that you had to do. If you were on slopes, I know a few firefighters went out to that. Thank you for your help with that mutual aid and for the safe journey back home. This weekend, I believe there's a marathon happening in town. Another representation of just community engagement, people coming together to do great things for Porterville. So if you're available, I think it's Saturday morning. There's going to be a marathon happening, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So get the information from the, I think it's Porterville Breakfast Rotary that's sponsoring this run. And if you'd like to run or walk, I'm sure there is still time to sign up and take part in that. I'd like to thank the Library and Literacy Commission for all the work that they did to bring us to the point that we were at today. Congratulations also to Tori Berry for the Employee of the Month. It just shows what one person can do, and we have a lot of those individuals that collectively, when we come together, really make a great city. An example is the rescue mission and all the work that they provide us. I also attended the VA Resources Fair at the Elks Lodge. I received an invitation kind of out of the blue a couple days before it happened, and I made my way around all the tables, and there are resources for veterans. There's, and they're available. Call the VA. They're not just going to ask you, from what I learned, to just come and see a doctor and then go home for 30 days and come back and see a doctor for 30 days. There's some pretty dynamic programs out there for our veterans. So if you're suffering at all, please reach out to the VA and ask for some of those resources that were shared recently here. And that goes for the community at large. You know, there's a lot of people that are struggling. I pray that you find the help that you need and the resources that you need to make your life a little bit more comfortable, and know that we as a council are trying really hard to help the homeless and to help other people in need, and so are the many nonprofits and churches in town. So I thank you for all of that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Meister?
Well, I'll try to be brief this time, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
One, I wanted just to congratulate Senator Shannon Grove and my colleagues on the dais here. SB 1414 has passed. Well, it's gone to Governor Newsom's desk for him to sign, which I think the support is there, and it'll be signed, which is going to go after people who purchase minors for child trafficking, modern-day slavery, right? So it's a big deal, and we all signed on to a letter in support. And so I just wanted to congratulate us all and Senator Shannon Grove. And I'll just cut to the end. The city of Porterville's got a lot of moving parts, from parks and leisure, public works, public safety, management. There's a lot of moving elements, and I think I could talk for all of us. We're constantly learning from the staff in this room. Not everything always works perfect, right? But what I can say on record is that the employees of this city work hard for this community. And so I want to thank you all for that. You know, I've got multiple calls over the last couple of weeks. One on the road maintenance that's going on in town in Newcomb is just, it's making a lot of noise. And so fantastic job on the road maintenance. Really pleased. And then just for all residents, if you have an issue, reach out to the departments. They will go to work for you. I've seen it firsthand, and just an amazing job from all of you. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I'll be really brief. Also, I want to touch on the library. I think as far as the cafe, we kind of talked about that at one of the last community meetings, and we talked about how it wasn't really feasible for the cost, and then to have that in there, and I was a little bit irritated because I wanted it there. But when our staff described how much it would cost, and it just wasn't feasible. So once they described all that to me, I understood that. But there's like little things that we all like want and fight for. And so, you know, but the good thing is that we've had all these forums to ask questions and dialogue. So that's been helpful, because I even learned a lot that evening when the staff talked to me about that. And then I just want to say, you know, I feel hopeful, even though it's not the largest space that we all wanted. But I think what we have right now is the ability to grow on that land. And we wouldn't have had that ability. We talked about this earlier today. We may not have that ability to grow with our previous library. So now we do. That's something hopeful that we have for us right now, and then our kids and grandkids. And then the last thing I want to say to the library is I want to thank all the people that served on that committee, the Library Facility Planning Committee, and some of you are here tonight, and thank you so much for being there voluntarily and showing up to every meeting and providing feedback and reading all the documents and slides and everything that we received. And thank you, Donnie and Amy, for helping us with those meetings.
I just want to acknowledge also your community service for that effort. That's it.
That's it? Okay. We all do. I just want to give a shout out to Eureka Velarde. She and I journeyed to laser broadcasting, and we did an interview, and we tag teamed that one. It was kind of unique and kind of interesting to be able to do that. It was all Spanish, and we were able to share all the community events for the city of Porterville. Alexis, we're going to miss you. I don't know what it is you're going to do, but we'll find out. And oh, before. Okay, well, and Vicki, thank you for your comments for the vice mayor and for me. I was asked the other day what it is, and I got to tell you what, when I get there, I'll let you know. Just because I did not seek re-election, I'm not done. And there is more to happen, and when that happens, you will all know what's going on. A lot of people in the community don't understand our involvement beyond city and beyond city committees and ad hoc committees. My journey on city council has been an incredible one. I am proud to say that I have never, ever in my 8 years missed a city council meeting. I have attended all of them. My TCAG, I've been on there since I first got on the council. I only missed one because I had emergency surgery and I couldn't make the meeting on Monday. They wouldn't release me from the hospital. But beyond that, I served on the Tulare County Census Committee in 2020, and the city of Porterville formed their census committee. Staff was involved with that, and being the representative to the county, when we brought that to the community, this council chambers was constantly full. I want to say, my journey has been incredible. The other committee I served on to represent the large cities, all 3 large cities, was LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Committee. And that you learned quite a bit, and staff and planning and everybody that's involved to that regard. You learn about the annexations and the subdivisions. My position on the Water Commission, I was the TCAG representative to the Water Commission. You heard me report out several times, but I represented not only Porterville to be able to bring that information back, because you already have representatives. You have a blessing that works for us already. From TCAG, I also served on the REAP Housing Committee. Initially, when that formula was brought to the table for the growth and the development in many of the communities, and I was the large city representative and journeyed to Fresno. All these other committees were in Visalia at different times during the day, and staff would go. The Homeless Task Force, that has been a very important component since 2016 to be a part of that, to develop the strategic plan, to be able to bring that information. And I always say Porterville was way ahead of the curve in everything that was done. So it has been an incredible journey, but it'll be time to raise eyebrows after December. And with that being said, I want to thank each and every one, because I have seen a lot of you grow up. I remember you from years ago being involved in the community. And I remember your involvement in community. So this is where I'm saying you have blossomed and continue to do so. Patrice?
I have nothing further to add to that.
All right, well, 8:40.